Hello, today I said I would post a video on mood mandalas. They're a great way to gather your thoughts and emotions during this time. I'll be working in a notebook that is 8.5 by 5.5. It's about the size of a sheet of paper when it's laid out. So I have some measurements here. So we start with 1 inch and then we go a 1/4 inch all the way down. This is just how to make a guide for your key, basically. So I go 1/4 inch all the way down. At 5 inches, I do leave a little bit of room just so I can mark the month. So you'll see in a second how that works. So yeah, it's always good to have two lines when you're gonna measure things out. So here's some more marks that I'm doing really quickly. This video is all sped up from when I did this. So there's the 1/2 inch for 5 inches. So you're going to have your title at the top. That's why I leave 1 inch for the title. My rulers have to change just because of how the setup was when I was recording. So yeah, your title goes at 1 inch. So with these lines for the color, they're going to be 1.5 inches away from the edge. And you can see I'm leaving like a 1/4 inch box for the colors, and I'm going to mark each color. So red, next color is obviously going to be orange. So I keep going down for each color. We have red, orange, yellow, green, light blue, dark blue, and purple. Each one of these matches up with a mood, which you'll see when I pull out on the pens. And just this little boxes where I would scribble in the color that I'm using for my colored pencils or my markers or whatever I'm using. I'm usually using colored pencils when I do this. So I'm just marking out each one of these. And as I said before, we're 1.5 inches away from what is the corner. So if you're working with a sheet of paper, you could just fold the sheet of paper in half so you know where the middle is. So here we go. So here's purple. So I erased some. You can use 3/4 of an inch for the month, so you can see I'm checking back to make sure I have everything I need in my previous mood mandalas. For your 1/4 inches up from the bottom, you should have about 11 of those spaces. So you can see I'm marking them out. I have 11 spaces. That's exactly what I need. So I erase that because I don't need it. So our month's going to be 1 inch from the margin, from the inside. So that's going to be where we put our month. And then all these lines at the bottom, they're going to be 2 inches away. And then we're going to mark 1/2 inch from that point. You'll have about 7 empty spaces, and that's actually where we're going to put all the days of the month. So marking these out. Once again, it's always good to put multiple tick marks when you're going to have to, draw lines. As I said before, my little layout here was a little strange for putting the ruler, so my ruler is bending and all that stuff. So yeah, so I have my lines just so I know where I'm going to draw later for all the days. And when I lay out these dates, I usually have 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 for each line that I have. I know that's not usually like the days of the week, they go by 7, but this is just how it fits for me on it. Just works. So I'm marking every other line. As you saw in like the previous examples I was flipping through, I just have these just little bracket things I put each day in, and I mark above each little bracket the colors that I'm going to be using for that day, the moods I was feeling, so that when I go back to it, I can start coloring it in. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I go along, etc. So as you can see, that's how I draw it. And then you can see I just doodle like the names, and I can erase them later once I'm done and I've marked those. So I'm going to erase the word month. We know that we're in April. Today's April 1st. So drawing out April really nice, and then I'm going to do the top. So the title that I always put at the top is Mood Mandala. Sometimes I have it match up with the theme I have. This is my bullet journal, so like each month I try to do a theme. So I'm just doing this like nice curly font. I like typography. I'm an artsy person, we know this. So excuse me. If I remember, yes. So right now I'm grabbing the markers. So I have my red markers. So red is angry and annoyed. You can see I outline the box and I write what it is, so I remember which emotion is what color. So orange is tired and indifferent, just, you know, that mood when you don't really want to deal with people. Yellow is happy and excited. So I'm writing that out. And I'm writing right on top of what I wrote before. All these lines were just a guide for where I'm writing. Green is stressed and nervous. I'm checking how to spell nervous there. Then we have light blue. I'm using Stradler pens for all these, by the way. So that's calm and relaxed. Dark blue, sad and depressed. All the emotions here. And then last one is purple, and that is busy and productive, which is what I'm doing today by making this video about how to do this. So I'm checking my theme. My theme for April was Pusheen, the little cat brand. So just checking that my font matches up with that. Not as scripty, but it's fine for this sake. So now I'm going to start marking out the days. So I'm going to take out my ruler so I have a straight line. So I'm marking out the lines. Let's make my little grid. Then I'm going to mark these lines. Remember, they're every other. This way we have somewhere to put all of our colors and our numbers so we know what day is what. And it's okay if it's a little messy. I mean, you can make it neat if you want. I don't really mind that this part of my key to this is messy. I'm going to erase, you know, all the unwanted pencil from that area. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in and draw some lines in between it so I know that when I write in, you know, green or purple or whatever, it fits. So I'm going to put purple in for April 1st because I'm being productive today. Now my journal has this mark in it because when I use my compass, it just pokes a hole in it. So I know where the center of my page is, but you have to find the center of your page to start this part. This is where the movement mandala is actually going to go. So use a ruler and find your center. So I'm just going to show how you find the center of the page. I know how, you know, big my page is, so I need just 4th and a quarter, if I remember correctly. And I'm going to draw a solid line for one of the lines. Now when I find the middle, which, yes, I know where the middle is, but I'm going to show you guys how to find the middle. So you're going to measure it out and find, you know, with math where the middle is. For this is 2 3/4. Now this line is going to be dotted, and I'm going to show you why in a little bit, because we're going to split this piece of paper into 12ths using the compass. So one line's going to be the dark line's going to be 6 of the lines, and the dotted line's going to be 6 of the lines. So the compass has one side is lead, one side is pointy. You stick the pointy end where you're going to draw, and you turn it. So I'm just showing how to use a compass. So I'm going to have a few circles here. And then I'm going to show you guys how to find 1/6 of something. So I'm going to put the pointy part where the solid line and the circle meet. And I'm going to make these little tick marks. And then I'm going to go to the tick mark and do the same thing. I'm going to keep going around until I have little X's on each thing. I'm not drawing full circles. I'm doing just little tick marks. And you can see that this makes 1/6. The trick to this is that you can't change the size of your compass. It has to be the same size as the circle that you're drawing on. So now I'm going to mark out, since this was a solid line, it started on the solid line, I'm going to do a solid line. So there we go, solid line there, and solid line here. So now we're going to make another circle with our compass, widen it up, make another circle, and with this circle we're going to start using the dotted lines to do the same thing. So we're going to do dotted line, we're going to make little tick marks all the way around. I know my hand's in the way, it's kind of hard to do it in this setup. So little tick marks, little X's all the way around on this new circle. This is starting from the dotted line that we drew up and down. And one more. All right, so now we're going to take our ruler again, and this time we're going to do dotted lines. So I'm doing dotted lines all the way down. They don't have to be perfect. There. Telling you the setup I had was a little funky. I have a locker drawer with my iPad on top of it for this. It was a little weird, but I don't have a table camera. All right, so I'm fixing my dotted line. All right, so we have dotted lines. So now we go back to the compass, and what we're going to do is that we're going to make circles all the way around. And what this is going to be our guide for our mood mandala. So that's a perfect circle. and so that, you know, when we make the design, everything's symmetrical like it should be. So I'm just going around and around and around, drawing all these circles with the compass. I usually do like 3 turns and just keep it in place. This is why there's such a huge hole in the middle of my paper because I always just keep pushing down on it. Using a compass is actually a lot of fun. It's nice to have perfect circles. And you can see I've brought down the lead on this one quite far. So I'm just going around. I usually try to fill up at least a whole page with circles because I usually try to fill up the whole page. So we're just going around and around and around. Now you don't have to press down too dark with it. I mean, I'm not going too dark. We're going to erase these lines as we go through with coloring it in. All right, so close it up, spin it so it stays closed, and we're going to put that away. All right, so now I'm going to show you guys my stencils. So I have a whole folder full of little stencils in here, and I cut them out of manila paper, those big folders. I cut them out of business cards. I cut them out of cardstock. They have to be thick, and they're usually just random curves. So here's a business card that I have, and I'm just going to draw a random curve to show you how I make these. I just draw, so I'm drawing like a heart. All right, let me draw a curve on it. Okay, now it kind of looks like ice cream. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this out, and this is going to be a stencil that I can use for this project. And I do this all the time when I feel like I need new curves, and I have a good straight edge, so I have a good right angle to this, as you can see. I'm going to show you how I use that. Most of these are cut out of corners of things with perfect right angles. So now I have a stencil from that, and what I can do is I can use it right up against a line and flip it, which I'll show in a second. I'm going through all the stencils I have. I cut a bunch of them, all sorts of different types of stencils, small and big and large, so I usually choose one that I feel like works, one that I'm in the mood to use, and I line it up against the line. I'm going to use it to guide my pencil. So I'm guiding it from the dotted line to the straight line. So this one will create basically a perfect star-like shape, which is pretty cool. Sometimes you can get some cool petal-like shapes. So I just go around and around, so I'm going from solid to dotted, and I'm flipping it against the dotted, and I'm matching up the right angle that I put, so all these guides really help out. So for this, I'm putting the right angle right up against the dot, the middle center dot. Sometimes you can, push it forward so that you're, focusing on maybe one line that you drew with the circles down to a certain point. Depends. This is all just to keep it symmetrical and the same. So I'm just starting with this because this makes it easy. So I'm going all the way around. I went a little over on that line, so I erased it. And you can see like a really cool star shape coming out of it. Just from a random, doodle I did probably while I was on break from work. So I'm just drawing all around and around and around. Last line. And there we go. Okay, so now I have a cool star. All right, so now I'm going to pick a different stencil. I have a lot of stencils, so I'm going to choose this guy. But instead of starting from the center, I'm going to maybe bring it a bit down, and I'm going to go solid line to solid line and see where that takes us. So the lines are going to overlap then. Instead of going to the neighboring line, I'm going to the next line over. And I'm starting from the circle line that's, just outside of where the star starts. And you get kind of a feel for this when you start looking at it and start playing with, your own stencils. Sometimes with my stencils, I'll write out a name, or I'll draw, an animal, and then I just cut out the profile and I see what happens. So this one's definitely like a big swirl thing. I think I was trying to get, different types of petal patterns. And you can see them going around. So this is creating sort of two shapes. We have like a pointy star on the inside, and we have a curvy petal-like shape, which is perfect for April. Cherry blossom trees are starting to blossom and all that. So I'm lining it up and flipping it. There you go. Straight line to straight line. There we go. Okay, and then we have, two petal-like patterns. So that's a good starting point. I like to use these Koh-i-Noor pencils. You can see some of them are very small. This is what I use for the colors. So I have my purple. So I said that purple, I'm being productive today. I'm going to mark my day. I'm going to use my eraser to erase some of my marks. As I said before, don't draw too dark. We're going to erase them. So I'm erasing some of that. I can still see, everything through that. So I'm going to just do some dots in here, just to start off. I'm not going to fill up the whole shape because I have such a large shape to fill up. So I'm going to just start with dots. I might feel something else though today, like calm. or whatever. And we're just going to keep building. And this is, you know, a work in progress. So I'm going to take more stencils at some point. I have stencils from everything: paint spiders, a bat wing. I have a few bat wings because of Halloween. I have a few petal patterns, as you can see. There's all sorts. I have some straight edges. I used a spiral graph at one point, and I was just cutting out the shapes that the spiral graph made. If you have one of those are fun. You can see, you know, the remnants of some of that. I have just some straight dots. I have all sorts of shapes when it comes to stencils, and, you know, it's just whatever comes to mind, or, you know, I just maybe let my hand go and make a curve. So I have all sorts of shapes. I even have a little raccoon there and a leaf. So I have all sorts of shapes and stencils that I use. Sometimes I grab them randomly, and you can see the spiral graph, you know, remnants. Those created some cool shapes. So I have all sorts. Some of them will cut from index cards. This is a weird one, so you can use the negative shape that it created, so you can start from there to there. Or you can use the positive shape. You know, there's all sorts of different curves that you can make. So this is a Christmas tree, so you can line that up. Or, you know, it doesn't have to line up with the line. It can line up, you know, maybe one point to another point, like I'm going to show with this, so it can go from like that point to that point. There's all different ways to do it. And that's it.